not just for eating by us or a furry friend, for even their shells become homes. To creativity there is no end. Hello everyone, today we are going to be starting the craft in the kitchen instead of my craft room. That's because we're going to be using walnuts, and I don't have a walnut cracker, so I'm going to be opening these up with a knife. So if you're like me and you don't have a walnut cracker, take your knife and be very careful. And you can see this is one side and this is the other. You want to try and open it where you have the crack, and then you want to just wedge in the knife. And you're just going to push it on one side. And then once you have it opened, you want to remove the contents because we're going to be crafting with these. So give it a nice clean. I'm just going to keep doing this until I have a few so that we can start crafting with them. We're moving on to DIY number 1. So once you've got all your walnut shells ready, you want to get some candles, and you can use these ones because they're so affordable. What you want to do is just push them out like this, then pop them into a pan that you're not going to use again. I always leave this for my candle making and crafts. So I'm going to put my pot on low heat, but if you want to, you can take another pot with warm water and then melt it that way. I'm just doing this because it's quicker for the project. And you're going to make sure to keep the wicks because we're going to need them. It's completely down to you if you want to add in some essential oils at this point, if you want it to smell really amazing. I'm going to be using real lavender because I feel like it makes it look more expensive and it just adds more to the DIY. I've got it on low heat at the moment, but this is my lavender. This is what I'm going to be using on top of the wax. So as you can see, they're melting and we have the wicks. So I'm just going to take my fork, this is an old fork that I'm not going to use again, and just fish them out and place them onto a kitchen towel. Now I've got some kitchen towels on the side, just in case I make any mess. This is all of the wax. Now it's all melted and I'm going to start pouring them inside each shell. Before you start doing that, make sure that you add the wicks to the bottom of each shell. And now I am taking my lavender and just sprinkling it inside the shell as well. And then you're going to just leave that to set. They haven't set completely, but look how pretty they are. And it's really nice when you've got a set of like 5, and it's going to smell amazing when you light them up as well. Let's move on to DIY number 2 now. So for the second DIY, you're going to take your walnut and we're going to glue it together. Add a touch of glue right here. And then take the other half and stick it together. And now we're going to be adding some materials to it. So I'm taking this little piece of ribbon and I'm just going to glue it on. It's a small piece of lace. This one's going to be kind of vintage looking. And then you're going to take some burlap and I'm going to cut it to the size to fit both sides of the shell. And I actually didn't have to glue these, they just fitted in really nicely, just slotted in on their own. And now I'm going to take a doily and I'm going to stain this with some tea so that it looks nice and vintage. You can do this with coffee as well. I do find that tea just works better, gives it a nice aged look. You're just going to dab it. This is freshly brewed, so it's pretty hot right now. And then once I'm done, I'm going to do the same as I did with the burlap. I'm just going to cut it to size and then fit it inside the walnut shell. And this is how I'm doing it, by the way. I just kind of roughly measure. I'm just sticking it on the shell and then cutting around it. If you have any old jewellery, this is the time to make use of it. I'm just going to take this little heart off this bracelet that I've never worn. I've got some pliers, so that's going to help do that. I'm just going to open the ring so that we can get the little heart out. I've also got this lovely necklace here that I'm going to take this gorgeous heart pendant off. Now I'm going to take my hot glue and add a little to the heart, and we're going to stick that on the top shell. I'm making use of a torn book that I got from the charity shop or the thrift stores, and you can use the same technique I showed you earlier with the tea if you just have some paper that you want to stain. We're going to create a little label that says I love you on here and cut it out, and then we're going to add it to the heart pendant. So just take a pen, and I thought it was quite nice to handwrite this because it's more personal. You can do it by computer or anything else if you like. Once you've done that, you're going to cut around it to make it look more like a label. And you're going to be really gentle with this part. Make a little hole with the hoop on your pendant so that you can slip it through. Now you're going to take your hot glue and finally add a little to the bigger heart. We're going to stick it sideways this time. That's our second DIY done, so let's move on to the third. Now for the third idea, you're going to take a piece of paper and a pen. Again, you can just write this on the computer if you want it printed out. And you're going to write anything you want to say. You can even look up a quote. So I'm just going to write something here and then we're going to cut it out. Now I've got my little quote on some paper and I've cut it out. I'm going to take one of these jewel stickers and just add it to the paper. And then once you've done that, you're going to hide your message, just like this, bend it. And this is kind of going to look like a Chinese cracker. Going to place it inside, then take your walnut and close it up, and now we're going to wrap it with some twine. So that's the third walnut idea done. Let's move on to the next. For the final idea, I'm just going to be using this part of the ribbon packaging that says always and forever. I'm going to cut it with some scissors and then add it to the inside of one of these shells. So here it is, all glued in. I'm really loving it so far. I'm going to use one of these that come inside the little gift boxes. I'm just going to cut its size and then create a little slip for the ring. And then once you've got all of that set, you're going to close your walnut, and then we are going to add a ribbon to make it look nice and pretty. This one's a little thick, so I need to fold it so that it's a bit thinner. And then I'm going to cut its size and add a bow to finalize. So this is a closed walnut, and when you open it up you have a lovely surprise inside, and you can put a necklace in here or anything you want. It doesn't have to be a ring. And then this one I absolutely love. It's just so vintage, it's so me. I think it's full of character and so classy as well. And then this is another closed walnut. And then when you open it up, this is how it looks, and then it has a hidden secret note inside. I really love this as well. Then you've got these lovely smelling lavender candles. I had so much fun making these in my kitchen, and I think you can sell all of these crafts as well. I hope that you have enjoyed every single one of these creative ideas. Make sure you subscribed if you'd like to see more.